When I think back to 2017, I can see how desperately Claire and I were craving a clean slate. We were both in our mid-20s, exhausted from hopping between rundown apartments that always seemed one bad week from falling apart. She was finishing nursing school, dragging herself through clinical shifts that left her drained. I was working overnight at a printing plant, the kind of job that grinds you down slowly, like sandpaper wearing away at your patients day after day. Money was tight. So when we stumbled across a small duplex on Hawthorne Street in Cedar Falls, Illinois, it felt like we'd finally caught a break. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A tiny porch with peeling paint. It wasn't impressive, but it was ours. Cedar Falls was the sort of Midwestern town where everyone claimed they knew everyone else, but it didn't take long to realize that friendliness didn't go deeper than a wave. People smiled, but they didn't linger. It was that polite small-town distance that quietly said, "We keep to ourselves." The landlord mentioned the men living in the other half of the duplex. "Howard Green," he said, tugging the brim of his cap. "Widower. Been here 15 years. Quiet as they come. Never bothered me once." And he seemed exactly that at first glance. Howard looked to be in his early 60s, maybe older. Tall but frail, with gray hair slicked straight back and skin so pale it looked like it hadn't seen daylight in months. Most days he wore the same beige cardigan and tired brown slacks. When we introduced ourselves, he nodded stiffly, gave a tight smile, and went right back to snipping the rose bushes in front of his porch. Claire leaned close as we walked inside. "He seems harmless," she murmured. I felt the same, at least then. It started small. During our first week, Claire called me at work, her voice shaking. "Ryan. I swear I heard someone in that little hallway between our units." Slow footsteps. And then 3 knocks, from inside the wall. "Sure, here's the next," paraphrased continuation, rewritten in the same tone/style, with slightly altered word order and phrasing, flowing naturally from the last sentence you wrote. I tried rationalizing it at first. Maybe I was overthinking things. Maybe the stress of my workload, the late nights, the isolation, maybe it was all blurring reality a bit. But that flimsy explanation fell apart one cold Thursday evening. I had just stepped into the hallway, trash bag in hand, when I noticed Luke's door cracked open. Not wide, just enough for me to see the faint glow of a lamp and the corner of something taped to his wall. I wasn't trying to pry, but as I passed, the image registered like a punch to the stomach. It was a photo. Of me. Standing by my kitchen window, mug in hand, taken from an angle that didn't exist unless someone was outside, watching. My throat tightened. Before I could move, Luke's door opened wider. He stepped out slowly, barefoot, expression unreadable. "Nice night," he said softly, as if we were old friends making casual chat. I nodded stiffly, dropping the trash into the chute, pretending I hadn't seen anything. He watched me the whole time, eyes tracking every movement. When I turned to head back inside, he took a single step forward. "You should really close your curtains more," he murmured. "People can see things." The way he said it sent a cold ripple down my spine. That night, I barely slept. Whiskers paced at the foot of the bed, ears flicking at every sound. Around 2:30 a.m., I heard it, the faintest scraping against my front door. Not a knock. Not footsteps. Just a slow drag, like fingertips tracing the wood. I held my breath, clutching my phone, listening. The scratching paused, then resumed, even slower this time. Ethan insisted on coming the next morning. He was furious, ready to confront Luke directly, but I convinced him to wait. I needed proof. I needed the office to take this seriously. I needed someone, anyone, to believe me. So I bought a small hallway camera. Nothing fancy. Just enough to capture movement. The very first night it recorded something. At 3:11 a.m., Luke approached my door again. This time, he leaned forward until his forehead rested against the frame. He stood there for nearly 2 minutes, breathing, listening, then placed something on the floor before walking back to his apartment. In the video, the object looked small. When I opened the door the next morning, I found a folded piece of notebook paper. Inside, in messy handwriting, were just 3 words. I miss you. My entire body went cold. I took the footage to the leasing office immediately. The manager watched the clip, eyes widening, then shook her head. This is concerning, she admitted, but he hasn't threatened you. We can issue a warning. A warning. That was all. Ethan pushed for me to stay at his place for a while, and I agreed. But I still had to come back for clothes, books, and Whiskers things. Each trip back felt like navigating a minefield. Every time I walked down the hall, I half expected Luke's door to swing open. And then, one visit, it did. He stepped out silently, blocking the hallway. His smile was stretched too wide, trembling at the edges. You haven't been home, he said. His tone wasn't curious, it was accusatory. I've noticed. Ethan moved between us immediately, ready to shove him away if needed. But Luke didn't react. He just tilted his head, eyes flicking toward me. You shouldn't leave, he whispered. It's not safe when you're not here. The chilling part wasn't what he said. It was the way he said it, like he believed it with absolute sincerity. That was the last straw. I packed everything I could fit into bags and boxes that afternoon and filed a police report before we left. It went about as well as expected. No threats. No physical harm. Not enough. Luke didn't come out again that day. But when we finally rolled the last suitcase to the elevator, I turned back for one final look at my door. There was a fresh note taped to it. Just 5 words this time. You'll regret leaving me. We moved out that night. It's been nearly 4 years now. New city. New apartment. New routines. On the surface, everything feels normal. But late at night, when I'm locking up or drawing the curtains, there's still a sliver of that old fear lodged somewhere deep. Because people like Luke don't always stop. Sometimes they just find someone new to watch. I told her it was probably the duplex settling, old houses complain at night. But the knocking came again. Always late. Always around 11 or midnight when the rest of the street had gone silent, and Claire was alone. One afternoon, I tried making conversation while he trimmed his roses. Nice garden you've got, I said casually. Howard looked up, his watery pale blue eyes locking onto me for just a second. Roses don't talk back, he muttered, giving a faint, uneasy smile. I forced a laugh, unsure how else to respond. Later, Claire asked, did you notice he never really looks at you? He sort of stares through you. I brushed it off. People grieve strangely. Losing a spouse can twist a person inward. I assumed loneliness explained his odd behavior. But the longer we lived there, the more the weirdness tightened around us. Boots shifted on the porch when no one was outside. Claire's umbrella was moved from where she'd left it. Our porch light came loose, more than once. And then came the night that flipped everything. I'd just gotten home from a long shift. Rain hammered against the streetlights glowing soft and blurry. As I stepped out of my car, I noticed Howard's curtain twitch. And in that split second, I saw a warm glow inside, candlelight. Curiosity rooted me in place. Through the tiny crack in the curtain, I saw the wall of his living room. And it was covered, covered in photographs. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. And my stomach turned when I realized they weren't family pictures. They were of me. And Claire. Us carrying groceries. Talking on the porch. Claire studying by the window. Me leaving for work. Before I could process it, the curtain snapped shut, like he felt my eyes on him. I didn't sleep. I told myself I must have imagined it, that the candlelight warped what I'd seen. But deep down, I already knew the truth. And I didn't tell Claire, not with her exams and anxiety already hanging by threads. Instead, I quietly ordered a door camera online. Installed it one afternoon, telling Claire it was for package theft. 2 nights later, the footage nearly stopped my heart. At 3:47 a.m., Howard shuffled up to our door in slippers. He leaned in, pressed his ear to the wood, and just stood there. Breathing. Listening. For almost a full minute. Then he walked away as if he'd simply checked the mail. The next morning, I snapped. I stormed over as he watered his roses. "What the hell were you doing at our door last night?" Howard blinked at me, unbothered. "Checking for drafts. Old houses like this, air slips through the cracks." "That's not your job," I shot back. He tilted his head slightly, voice dropping to a near whisper. "You should be more grateful, Ryan. I notice things before you do." Then he gave a faint smile and went inside, shutting the door like nothing happened. That night, I finally told Claire and showed her the footage. She broke down sobbing. "We have to tell someone, landlord, police, anyone. He's watching us." So we called the police. They talked to Howard and came back shrugging. "He's harmless. Maybe a little odd, but he hasn't broken any laws." Claire stared at the officer like he'd lost his mind. "He's stalking us." The officer sighed. "Unless he threatens you directly, there's nothing we can do." Weeks passed. I barely slept. Claire swore she heard whispers through the wall when I was gone, sometimes her own name. We kept the lights on all night. I slept with a baseball bat beside the bed. Then one morning, I found a plain envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a shaky handwritten note. "You leave at 6:42. She leaves at 7:15. Do not change your routine." My hands shook. He was tracking every step we made. I showed the police. Same response. No threat. No action. By November, fear had become part of our daily life, like background noise. Nights were the worst, especially when I worked late. Claire's texts came constantly. Footsteps in the hall. TV noise from his unit at 4 a.m. Smell of candle wax through the vents. One night she called me crying hysterically. "Ryan," I swear he whispered my name. Right through the wall. I heard him breathing. I almost quit my job, but we couldn't afford it. So I started driving home on lunch breaks just to check on her. Every time, I'd catch Howard staring through his curtains. The breaking point came on a stormy November night. The power went out. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder shook the walls. I just checked the breaker when I came back inside, and saw Claire standing stiffly in the living room, candle in hand, her face chalk white. "Ryan," she whispered. "Look." She pointed toward the window. And there, pressed almost against the glass, was Howard. Rain streaking down his face. A twisted smile curling across his lips. He didn't move when I yelled. Didn't flinch when I pounded the glass. He just stood there, smiling. Only when a neighbor's headlight swept across the driveway did he slip back into the darkness. By the time I ran outside, he was gone. We hardly slept. Claire begged me to move, but we couldn't break the lease without massive fees. So we endured. 2 weeks later, without warning, Howard moved out. No goodbye. No forwarding address. Just gone. When the landlord let us look inside his empty unit, I expected clutter, maybe strange messes. Instead, it was spotless, eerily spotless. But the spare bedroom told the real story. The wallpaper had faded in neat rectangular outlines, dozens of them, like frames, had hung there for years and were recently removed. All the photos had been taken down. Every last one. We searched for hours, hoping to find even one scrap of proof. Nothing. That night, Claire whispered, "Do you think he's still watching us?" I didn't answer. We moved out the next spring. Found a place across town near the hospital. Life went on, but the memory stuck to us like scars. Even now, years later, I still check my porch light twice. I still peek out the blinds before bed. Sometimes, walking to my car before dawn, I swear I feel pale blue eyes on me. Claire and I are married now, living in another state altogether. On the surface, everything is normal. But the damage from the duplex lingers. Howard never resurfaced. No one ever connected him to anything else. Maybe he died. Maybe he found new neighbors to observe. What I know is this. Safety is delicate. We pretend our homes are fortresses, locks, cameras, friendly neighbors. But all it takes is one person with too much time and the wrong kind of obsession to unravel everything. The little things matter. The moved umbrella. The loose porch light. The knocks in the wall. We dismissed them until it was almost too late. If there's one lesson I carry with me, it's this. Trust your instincts. Don't let politeness drown out your alarm bells. When home doesn't feel safe, you act. You protect yourself. Because the scariest part wasn't the silence. It was lying awake at night knowing a man only inches away was listening, watching, waiting. And the truth is, sometimes you never really know if someone like that is gone for good.